Happy Wednesday. Hi, everybody. We're Dave and Laura Butler, and we're here for our Wednesday live stream. And we will be with you in just 1 minute. And as always, we'd like to credit our very good friend Elliot Lewis of Hall & Oates and Live from Daryl's House, and his own career, which is stellar as well, for writing that most important music and lyrics that we feel all the time is how we help people realize we're in it together, right?
We've got to be in it together, because I remember an old saying that said, you're either going to hang alone, or you're going to hang with everyone else. So I think it's a good idea to hang with everybody else.
I would say so. So we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we offer customized leadership development programs for individuals, teams, organizations, and help people to address our topic today, our paradigms. And so if you are joining us on the recording, please mention recording in the comment, and answer any, ask or address any questions that may come up. But the idea of today's focus and our discussion is that leadership in this uncertain time requires new work paradigms for the future.
Yeah.
And we've seen this before, but now more than ever.
Well, yeah, and if we keep using the old paradigms that we had before, it's not going to work in the future. They hardly worked for the time they were in to begin with.
Well, they'll change tomorrow.
So one of the things that's important for leaders to do is to be able to start creating the new paradigms that are going to work. I actually went and found the book that it probably changed most of my thinking forever, Future Edge by Joel Barker. It's all about paradigms. It came out in 1992. There's been several films made out of it, short films that you can find if you look online. And you go to YouTube, I'm sure you'll find it. Really fascinating. But in it, he talks about the importance of anticipating and creating the next paradigm.
Well, I think a very good place to start, not only, and we've had the privilege of meeting and hearing Joel Barker speak on this topic, but there are lots of really good YouTube videos and recorded messages from Joel that are extremely valuable and certainly timely for today. But first of all, why don't we define? I know it seems like a broad brush to paint on a paradigm, but what is it? How would you define it?
Well, one of the jokes in the old days used to be a paradigm is 20 cents, pair of dimes.
Yeah.
Not a great joke, but that's what it was. That's what I was looking for here. I wanted to see what he had in here.
Well, I have a definition that I looked at our trusty Google, and a paradigm is a widely accepted example, belief, concept, or set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I like about this definition, and what I think is sort of the launching pad for the discussion about paradigms, is in the moment, it's an accepted example, belief, concept, or set of rules that change, like you said, at the drop of a hat. So and we embrace a rule, we embrace a belief, but we tend to hold on to that thinking that that's the way it's always going to be.
Right. And paradigms didn't used to change so quickly. Paradigms lasted a generation, or if not more. Paradigms then started out lasting, maybe a decade. And then they started lasting maybe a year. And now we're in this situation with something like the pandemic. In a year, we've probably had 3 or 4 paradigm shifts. It all depends on where you're looking at it from and where you're involved in it.
Exactly. Well, I like Joel's definition, or Joel's statement here, that paradigms can block creative solutions to problems, right, which is why we feel that this is such an important concept in leadership today. Because if we're not looking ahead and moving beyond where we think the paradigm, or we expect the paradigm to be, then we're losing touch with how we might be able to think differently. One of the worst phrases for me, it always gets my hot button, is, oh, we've always done it this way.
Right.
Well, there's nothing right now that's always done it that way in terms of leadership, in terms of where we're going in the future here. If there aren't roads yet.
Yeah, that's right. And I like Buckminster Fuller once said, if you keep doing this, you're doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
And that's what a paradigm is. A paradigm is a way of doing things that, maybe at one time was 80% effective, and then it slowly became 50% effective, and then it was 25% effective. And paradigms usually shift because there's only maybe 20% of it works anymore. It's funny how we hang on to it. We keep thinking somehow it's going to work.
I would add, if you're listening even to the recording here, give an example of what you have, what paradigms have worked for you, and what may be changing now with the new reality that is changing every single. You hear something in the morning, in the afternoon, it could be something different. I just keep thinking, just hold your horses here. Fast, as Betty Davis said, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
For those of you who remember who Betty Davis was. But I think the interesting thing that we talked about before is this example. So if you could talk about this of a paradigm, Swiss watchmaking and the digital transformation.
Yeah, it's actually where he starts the book, because it's such an obvious paradigm. So the Swiss were known for making, wonderful watches and springs and little gears and all kinds of things. And, the watches were very, 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 very good at keeping excellent time. But that was their paradigm, was that it needs to be springs and all these little things. And then along came the idea of digital clocks and digital watches. And you have on the watch itself, it says, it's got the numbers on it, but there's no clock face, there's no hands. Well, the Swiss actually, I believe in the book, he says that they actually started they were responsible for inventing some of that, but they didn't pay attention to it because they said, well, it's not really a real watch. And they let the technology go to the Chinese or wherever it went, to Asia or something like that, who, like Seiko and companies like that, made a huge killing out of it whenever it was back in the 70s and 80s. And the Swiss were taken completely off guard. Now, still today, you can spend a lot of money and get a nice Swiss watch, but they don't have anywhere near the market share that they had at that time.
Right.
So that's a good example of a paradigm getting in the way of creativity, getting in the way of seeing a better way or something that's an alternative.
Exactly. And then today, why we think this is so important for the leadership topic is real work. The paradigm is that the thinking, the concept is that real work is accomplished 100% in the office.
Yeah.
Everything has got to be FaceTime.
Yeah, somehow, working from home is one step away from being on vacation.
Yeah.
And what I've seen in the last year, I'm sure you've seen it as well, is people are working harder because they're working from home. And one of the things that they like is being able to work from home. So
yeah, and I think that's therein lies the problem, is that we're not asking people to work harder. We're asking people to create the work and life that they want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about working harder. It's not about supervising, as you said, where people need to be seen.
Yeah, be watched over, supervised, watched over.
Yeah, and it's all about accountability in a way that we're adults in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So
leaders, you're going to be able to tell if I did my work because it doesn't show up.
What?
You'll be able to tell that whether or not I'm doing my work, by whether or not it shows up, and you get the answers you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a significant paradigm shift. And the other thing that it reminds me of is in my work of creating leadership programs for women. One of the things that we address are the basic assumptions. So the assumptions, similar to paradigms, are what we need to take a look at and bust through them.
Yeah, so, see what's keeping us from being creative and finding new ways and better ways to do things.
Well, that ties into another example of a paradigm, is having fun is serious work.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I mean, I've always thought people learn better when they're entertained and when they're having fun. So we used to call it edutainment when we do something for an offsite. It was fun. We do things where people learned and they retained it better because it was enjoyable.
Right.
Well, somehow we have the paradigm that work has to be, give you a nose to the grindstone and everything's, committed. And it's like people are miserable. It must mean that they're being productive. Well, the opposite really is true. The more people have fun, I don't mean fooling around. I mean, just having fun with what they're doing, they're much more productive and they find much better ways to get things done. We've seen it over and over again with our offsites where we had the mysterious Dr. Squish show up and, show people fun ways to do things.
Right. Exactly. And so what leaders can do right now is to take a hard look at current state. Are we locking and loading and embracing the paradigms pre-pandemic, I would say. And then there's the midstream pandemic, which has created its own set of paradigms, one around not having fun, and you're not working unless you're in the office. So what happened for 18 months? Everybody was on vacation? I don't think so. So everybody certainly had their own version of what hard work is. And if it isn't hard work to try to juggle home and work and family and kids, then, the office is a breeze.
Yeah.
So
I used to say there's some work that you need to be there, like brain surgery, but even that's changed. I mean, the surgeons are working through telemedicine and operating with robotics hundreds of miles away.
Right, exactly. So we invite you to take a look at our website and take a look at some of the material there that might help you shift your paradigm and shift your thinking into something new and something that's creative and something that will help you get unstuck and take a look at what might be your roadblocks.
Join in the conversation.
Dave, in the closing here.
I said, join in the conversation with us because this is important stuff and no one person's got all the answers. We certainly don't, but I think that we have a better answer if we work together.
Absolutely. And we offer, if you'd like to talk about these paradigms and what are some of the things as leaders are holding you back, or what would you like to look at to move forward, certainly we'd love to meet with you for a 30-minute discovery call and get some coaching because it's not easy to be a leader today and try to create the future as it's happening.
There's a lot of leadership paradigms that are shifting right before our eyes.
Absolutely. So again, we'll be here each week and we look forward to hearing from you. And if you have more topics you'd like to hear from us, please share. So thanks for listening. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye.